Hello everyone. I apologise for the very ad hoc release of this podcast lately. I love the podcast, I love doing it and editing it, but believe it or not, it is somewhat time consuming and I'm very focused on the film at the moment. So because of that, I'm going to only do one episode after this episode, and then I'm going to give it a rest until I can give the podcast the attention it deserves. Alright, cheers. Welcome to the Neil Bean and Craphead Show. With me,
Beans on feet. What?
Sean Beans. Oh, that ain't right.
Oh my God, Sean Beans on feet.
He does have one of those faces, doesn't he? So the sort of face you would find in a fetish magazine.
He's very piercing eyes. I mean, I think you can obviously discern those from behind a gimp mask, I think.
I remember when I was about 10 years old, me and my friend found his parents' copy of Joy of Sex, and we went through it all. And it went from an exciting experience of, we're going to learn about sex, to, why the beard? Have you ever seen Joy of Sex? Do you even know what I'm talking about?
Are you talking about, I think, is it Robert Winston or something like that? He's got
Robert Winston, the science professor.
Yes. I could have sworn, right, there was one sex
OBE,
video.
MBE.
That I saw both at home and at school, that was hosted by someone with quite a prominent moustache. But it was this old guy, he talked about it in this very peculiar kind of, bizarrely kind of intimate way, and it was always kind of quite creepy. It was talking about getting erections and whatnot. Right. And there was just one kind of unadulterated shot of a real dick getting an erection during it to explain what an erection was. But what kind of fucked me up about this was that the way that it
came all over the lens.
No, well, it was just...
And what it came was
between...
beans.
You just saw the aperture of the penis dilating, and just Heinz came tumbling out one by one. Until you could see he was up to his fucking knees in them.
Luckily, he was in a bath.
It was cut between a talking head of Robert Winston, right? Looking right into the camera, talking about it. And just the way it was cut, when I first saw it, I must have been quite young as well. I assumed, is this Robert Winston's penis as getting an erection as he's talking about it? So I don't think I can watch this. This man with this moustache is astonishingly creepy. And every time I saw him subsequent, I was always on the back foot. Yeah, it was kind of gross. But then, you could see that whoever this dick was, there was no kind of, middle-aged punch going on. It must have been, obviously, a younger, different male. But my mind couldn't have coped with that at the time. So, I always...
I want the narration to do that. I want the narration to be Robert Winston saying something to the camera sort of, every mammal has an erection while they're asleep or something. Some fact like that. And then we go down to the flaccid penis and it starts to get erect. And the narrator goes, of course, this penis isn't Robert's penis. This is the penis of a younger, different man. This is a micro penis.
That's going to say that another penis comes from.
Oh, no. This is what it looks like when three penises get erect in close proximity.
One must stand aside as the other duel.
I had another book that I found. I think this was my dad's book, and it was a bit more sophisticated than The Joy of Sex, and it was called something like The Tao Guide to Love, and it was old style Japanese pictures and sort of a guide to sex. But it was mental because it was all about like the guy will jump off a cliff 40 feet. No, the woman will jump off a cliff 40 feet and land onto the man's erect penis. But it wouldn't say penis, it would say like yam or something, onto the man's yam. It was very hard to masturbate to. But that's what being a kid is all about. Overcoming those barriers.
I mean, those are the first hurdles in life that you have to overcome.
Let's stop saying overcome.
There's no such thing as overcome. There's definitely a thing as undercome.
Well, this guitar hasn't been properly cared for.
Look how dry the wood is.
Oh, God.
It needs some treatment. This could take up to a couple of months.
Is that what we decided it would take? A couple of months? That's an effort, though.
Oh, yeah. No, that's full time. And you pull on a couple of double shifts there as well each week.
Just after your second session of the day, you get straight back onto the running machine eating your yogurt.
Yeah, it's a pretty strict regimen of yogurt, pineapple, and asparagus.
Yeah, Oprah on a cycle on the big screen.
You're chained. You're chained to the fucking machine.
Having spoken about cum for nothing but 8 minutes,
Yes.
I have some Game of Thrones news that I'm sure you're familiar with, being a huge fan of that series, Game of Thrones. Did you hear the latest gaffe that has come from Game of Thrones? There's a... You gone?
No, nothing. I'm just being uncomfortable.
There's a nice still image somewhere of an actor on the left and Emilia Clarke over there, and she has a Starbucks coffee cup in front of her.
I mean, so what? Are people laughing at it, or people just incensed that she would drink fucking Starbucks?
Immediately it goes to Emilia Clarke. Yeah, it's not a continuity error. It's Emilia Clarke's mistake. Yes, and we are incensed that she would drink coffee. Is that what you were going to say?
Well, from a chain, corporation so prominent, so powerful. Yes,
people are like, we thought HBO was all about the little guy. Well, that's the news. That's the Game of Thrones. Should we do a jingle?
No.
Okay.
Game of Thrones.
News. Coffee. Emilia Clarke. Acting.
No fucking way.
I can't speak and not hear Chris Tarrant's voice.
What, when you're doing that, or have you been afflicted by some terrible psychological condition?
I mean, I especially heard it just then, but yeah, I've started to notice British accents a lot more, and they are fucking irritating.
Oh, really?
I've been watching a lot of Gordon Ramsay recently, for the last 25 years, and
I was about to say, yeah.
His accent, I actually quite like his accent because it's usually quite clear, but there's the occasional word where it almost sounds like Lincolnshire or something, and it just makes me cringe.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, I tried to think what will happen when you come across like Liverpudlians or somebody from Blackpool. I'm sure that'll make you kind of fold yourself inside out.
No, it's okay. It's okay when it's like that, when it's an out-and-out accent, but when it's sort of a toned-down British accent, I suppose, like mine, and then you hear I suppose what I'm really saying is I hate my own accent, but...
I thought you were going to tell you hate my fucking accent.
I love the Australian accent, Damien. Whatever it is. We did think it was Australian, didn't we, for a while? And then your dad was like,
people
no.
Still do. Some guy at the pub who apparently works with children, retarded children. He was very emphatic on.
Did he say retarded?
Yeah, he said retarded. And
he says I work with retarded children.
Yeah, he was shit-faced.
See, now I'm thinking that they weren't retarded at all. They were normal children, and he was the one who was.
I mean, he was
mentally. His abilities had been
retarded.
He was intrigued by my accent, and he was asking me about where you're from. Are you from Australia? And I went through the same rigmarole I always do when I get that. I said, no, it's just me. Everyone else in the family has a more conventional English accents. Like, oh, that's really interesting that you kind of talk your own way. Do you think you might have Asperger's? Because that would definitely be a symptom of that. You might have autism. It's like, I'm going to move away now. Thank you very much.
That's amazing.
Enjoy your drink.
Amazing. You see, now that really does lead me to believe that room full of people were not, in fact, retarded. I can't believe he said retarded if you worked with them. It's terrible. Maybe it was just some people he'd met and had bullied into just going along with the charade. Like, yes, I've got Asperger's.
He's just there. He goes going to a nursery, and there's a little piggy bank in the corner where they buy, where they save the money for the milk that they buy these children. He just walks in and gives them all a good kicking every now and again, and just walks away with a little fucking piggy bank. It's like, right, fucking booze money for today, sorted. Be back tomorrow, same time.
Little kid pulls on his trousers and they say, "Here, mate, would you like some milk?" And he's like, "Oh, you speak differently. Get in the pen."
Let's slate this one for a lobotomy. All right, I brought my own pencil this time.
So this is somebody you briefly met in a pub, but you managed to glean where they worked.
Oh no, it was. There were two guys, but this guy, I mean, was just kind of in close proximity. So he just started talking to me. I probably spoke to him for about 20 minutes, and then I kind of, I broke away from him and just kind of, did my own thing. He made a point of like coming up like 40 minutes later and like trying to apologize. It's like, I know I said, I didn't mean it in this kind of way, but it is,
Okay.
it could be Asperger's,
It could.
All right, dude, I'm not
Your
pissed off.
personality, that could be Asperger's. That's weird. That's.
Oh dear. I mean, was this supposed to be an apology, or did you just want to call me autistic again?
It would make sense.
that I'm that I'm on the spectrum. I mean that has poisoned me since you
Has
told me
it?
that. Yeah, I've it's been like
You've had
6
to take
months.
down all your David Hasselhoff posters.
I always wondered why I couldn't make eye contact with people.
You see, everybody knows the Sonic thing, but the David Hasselhoff thing, that's the sort of the sign of it before that generation. So I gave you the Game of Thrones news. I'm trying to think of anything else that I came across recently to avoid talking about.
We don't
this
have
film.
to try. You don't have to try so hard. We've gotten away with it in the past, and I don't think anyone seems to give that much of a shit.
I cannot describe how boring this movie was, and not in any sort of entertaining way. And I like Michael McKean, and I like Fisher Stevens. Not in this, but
Really? What do you like him in?
do you know? I found an article from 1988 that seems to be like legitimately praising him in this movie as someone like an actor has accomplished some sort of massive transformation.
Really?
Like Daniel Day-Lewis has become this person. It's speaking of him like that. Maybe we should describe exactly what's going on with Fisher Stevens. But I mean, surely people aren't going to fucking know what Short Circuit 2 is.
I mean, you could put the rope, you could throw up Johnny Five, and people will recognize it. And then I would be very surprised if people didn't, because it's kind of massive, right? I mean, at the time, the robot was considered quite an accomplishment, and in terms of like special effects, it always kind of stood out. I mean, I would say I enjoyed watching this movie. I got a little bit nostalgic watching because I do remember that it was one of those things that we bought for 50p and shat on relentlessly many, many years ago.
We bought Short Circuit 2 for more than 50p. It was like £1.
Oh, fucking hell. We were fleeced.
We were fleeced. And essentially, I only owned 4 DVDs, and they were Sinjanor, Short Circuit 2, Mooseport, and something like Humanoids from the Deep.
Oh, yeah.
Which was also terrible, and therefore we watched Short Circuit 2 a lot. But I also realised watching it, like, I've never watched this movie. We would just get drunk and talk to. I mean, didn't we have a game where we would drink every time that anything vaguely racist happens? I mean, that, it must have been blacked out after about half an hour.
Today, in its current form, it would be considered a hate crime. But I don't think anyone kind of gave too much of a shit at the time. I mean, the only thing that Fisher Stevens kind of abstains from is bobbing his head left to right while he's talking. But I don't see why he made this decision, because everything else is in pretty fucking poor taste.
Fisher Stevens is a white actor playing an Indian man, and he's playing him to the point where they actually do have Fisher Stevens. I think he has blue eyes. They've put brown contact lenses on him.
Really? I didn't spot that.
And I don't understand it, because he's sort of playing a stereotypical Indian, but he's not really that exaggerated. I mean, like, you would expect, if they were going to do this, if they were going to have a white actor play this Indian guy, it would be like fucking out there. Like, why didn't they just get an Indian person to do this? It makes no sense.
Why don't we just not get Peter Sellers?
Why do we not just? But Peter Sellers, yeah, well, yes. Well, goodness gracious me!
I mean, it's pretty much that the whole time. Oh, Mr. Number Johnny Five, please to be not interrupted my speaking.
We were working on him one day, and suddenly he is struck by lightning. And from this moment on, he's having a mind of his own. So the government tried to destroy him, so he ran away. So now he is living with my friend in Montana in a cabin in the woods in Cognito.
But, as sort of insensitive and, not something that could be repeated today, as that Peter Sellers film was. What film was it?
I think it was like The Party or something like that.
The Party, yes. Yeah, even as sort of not cricket as that is, at least that's funny.
Fucking hell, I've just... The third picture.
I'm just looking at it now. That is unacceptable. Fucking hell.
Fucking hell. They blacked him right up. Jesus. Maybe that's just the lighting, but that is a There's one of him in a turban. It looks like boot polish all over his fucking face. He may as well have been sweeping a chimney.
He may as well have had white lips.
Oh, man, that's awful.
It is sort of like that. I mean, like, what the fuck? It doesn't even look like he's... It doesn't even look like that's his skin color, right? It looks like he's...
It must have been fucking slim pickings for Indian actors at that time. I can't...
I mean, I can see that. I can see that it was slim pickings in Hollywood. But seriously, it's bizarre. And Short Circuit 1, which we never speak of, certainly is a better film. But I fail to see why they did this, because Fisher Stevens isn't even the main character in that film.
But see, the thing is about this, I think I've seen that movie maybe once, the original one, but much like you, I've seen Short Circuit 2 the better part of a dozen times. Well, probably plus.
Much like me. When I watched it last night, that was the first time I've ever seen Short Circuit 2 without you. Okay, that's a weird thing to say out loud.
That's the time I've ever watched it without spending half an hour saying flim flammed.
These don't smuggle. Oh, Jesus. Oh yeah, I have nothing to say about this other than it's shit, and I'm glad that the other character was played by Donald Trump.
I hadn't made that comparison, but yeah, it's kind of astonishingly similar. I bet Michael McKean is very pleased. No, I didn't struggle with the first half of the movie, because that's kind of where there was a lot of nostalgia with all those quotes and what have you. Kind of brought those kind of back to the surface, and I kind of laughed along with that. You know, the third act and what have you. There's nothing positive about that. There's nothing that we would take the piss about. It's just slogging through this really fucking vanilla humor from this. Go on. Dodgy robot. It just doesn't land whatsoever.
It's an incredibly lazy film.
Well, I mean, it's obviously built around, hey, we've got a robot. Let's just make a movie.
This is what I was going to say. It's the sort of film that no one wanted to make, right? There wasn't some young director going to a producer going, I hear you producing Short Circuit 2. Give me that. I want that. It landed in Kenneth Johnson's lap, known for the Incredible Hulk series. It landed in his lap. He had to do it. The writers had to do this. Everyone involved had to do this. There is no passion in this movie at all. You can tell they filmed it like, I fucking hate this. There were two bits in this movie that I liked. Or not necessarily that I liked, but that like got me thinking. And the first one was... Well, I'll do the first one second. The second one was after Johnny Five gets into trouble with Los Locos, a group of street thugs who are stealing car stereos. After that, when he's on his own again, they never come into it again. The setup is he meets these thugs and they sort of manipulate him into stealing stuff for him, but they're all right. And it's kind of meant to be like they're going to come back later and help him. They're never in it again.
Nah.
After that, immediately he's like, arriba, 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 come on. And it's like that's what like 30 minutes of being around these Latinos did to him. It made him go Ariba, Ariba constantly. But the first bit as well was so part of this movie is Jewel Heist, and part of this movie is Robot becoming man, and another part of this movie is Fisher Stevens wants to get into bed. He wants to fall in love with this woman who for some reason has been given the responsibility of lining up the toys that this company is going to sell over Christmas. And before she finds the Short Circuit dolls, which are sort of the centerpiece of this film, she's got lots of different ideas. And one of her ideas is it's more or less an Alice band. Do people know what I mean by Alice band?
Yeah.
A hairband.
Hairband, yeah.
A hairband. It's more or less a hairband, but it's got like two fake arms coming from it, and the hands at the end of the arms are like robotized and like grip at air. And that was awesome because that gave me a good 10 minutes of thinking about, like, I'd love to have horns coming out of my head, you know, at the traditional point of your head, sort of where the where the receding hairline is, like there, but on the end are these tiny hands. I love that. And the hands can clap. That's what they were doing. They were clapping in the movie. They wouldn't just do that on my head. They'd also like grab boobs and stuff.
Yeah, so I was thinking when I saw that, it's like, that's great. That's like another toy that I'd be able to fuck.
What, the hands thing?
The hands thing, yeah.
How would you fuck that?
I mean, I know how to fuck hands. I fuck mine
Yeah,
quite
but-
frequently.
yeah, but
I presume it's the same with all hands, no?
If they were coming out of your head, you would have to do that by like putting your chin into your sternum.
No,
I'm
what
trying
I
to
do,
it now.
right,
What's
is
the
you
point?
say it's
do
like
you-
a headband. So what I do is I just put it around my thigh, and it can just kind of round my crotch, and I just kind of...
just clap around your penis, and that would be pleasurable, would it?
Well, I mean, look, it was obviously
oh
designed to
yeah,
crap, but you
that's
said...
so good. Oh, Janet. Oh,
you said
Janet Street
you
Porter.
said
Thank
yourself,
you.
right? You said yourself that it doesn't...
Oh,
clap.
not
You
the
said it
teeth,
just
Janet.
grabs.
You know I can't stand that. Oh my god.
Too much ball play. Too deep. You said yourself it doesn't clap. It grabs the air, so it doesn't look like it's capable of much strength or even that much speed. All right. So I think
the
it'll be
toy
like
claps,
general.
but my horns would grab at stuff.
I'm not
They would just
talking
be
about
tiny
your
hands.
horns. All right. I wish I would fucking rip from your body and somehow sew to my thighs so I could fuck. No,
Well, it wouldn't work
you're
for
not
you.
listening.
They protest.
I'm just saying this toy looks perfectly serviceable. All right. So look, once I think they could maybe like pronounce the thumbs a little bit more because they weren't that defined. It might make a little bit
They weren't
too flat.
They were more like nubs, weren't they?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
need two
yeah.
joints in a thumb.
Well, I'm thinking like if the thumbs were a bit more pronounced, I could definitely just stick to fucking one of the hands and the other could kind of like palpitate my scrotum at the same time. It's kind of like a double-header type thing. Yeah, works in kind of more ways than one, maybe. But this is like it was ridiculous that woman had that kind of prestigious job because she obviously wasn't asking those kind of questions. And if you argue, it feels like that's something that should be going back to R&D. In all fairness, and not straight to the CFO or CEO or whatever it was. Fuck that.
I agree. I don't think it's a great idea. But in fairness to that young lady, she certainly has a future in engineering because it was a finished product. It wasn't a great product, but it was a finished product. And that's all we can really ask. And that's all Mr. Rogers ever really asked. And that's all Janet Street Porter ever really asked.
I keep thinking that Janet Street Porter is a band.
I've just been listening to some JSP. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. The front man, he was playing at Coachella the other year, yeah.
Burning Man's next,
Burning Man, yeah. That's where Dre started out, yeah. And then it's a conversation about that.
I'm a rap producer,
I'm a rap producer, yeah.
Oh, you're
the most
really
boring person
boring.
I've ever met. So I'm just looking at my...
You're not looking at anything. It's a black screen.
My notes said, Amazon stars, I've done that bit. Fisher is a black man. I've done that bit. I wish I had horns that are hands. I've done that bit. Donald Trump, I've done that bit. Kodak, yeah, this film was sponsored by Kodak. Los Locos, and also the last thing I wrote was take advice from the autistic robot.
Well, it's like
I mean,
a sort of final thought.
They seem to have mistaken personality with pep. I can't say pep without it popping. Pep.
Does sound like you're fucking tapping on the mic. Well, maybe take a step back.
Pep
go to-
music.
Maybe I try pep. I see.
Do you have anything to say about Short Circuit other than ugh?
I've still got IMDb open. If you go up to the top, look at the poster for the movie. If you look at Fisher Stevens, right, you can see his shoulder it's in front of Johnny Five, and then you'll
Yes.
notice that the rest of his head is behind him.
I see that.
One, it's a moment that doesn't occur in the movie whatsoever, but the look on Fisher Stevens' face is a little peculiar because it does look. I mean, Johnny Five looks very pleased with himself, and you can only see one hand. I can only presume that Johnny Five has got one of his fucking bony metal fingers up Fisher Stevens' back address right now because he does not look happy. He looks very perturbed.
I disagree. I think it's nothing to do with Johnny Five. I think that Fisher Stevens has just seen a loose rolling hot dog in the middle of the street. And it's just escaped the carnage that would have been if it had been hit by these two tires that have rolled by, and it's a miracle that it hasn't. It's perfect timing, and he cannot believe it. And he knows in the moment that he's the only one who's seen it. It's like that time I saw that pigeon slip over on some tiles, just outside a subway station. It slipped over and it looked at me all embarrassed. I'm the only one who saw that, but I know it happened.
A pigeon, you say?
A pigeon, yeah. They looked embarrassed. I also saw a sheep once taking a piss, and I turned a corner and it was like a lamb almost. It was a bit older, sort of like between a lamb and a sheep, a teen sheep.
And it turned a corner.
I turned around a corner,
Right, okay.
and so startled it and was very close to it, and it was taking a piss, and I was about 3 feet from it, and it looked at me and it went "Meh!" as if to say, "Ah, I'm taking a piss."
Then it was really embarrassed and it stopped pissing.
It
So
did-
to make
it-
then I felt embarrassed.
It
To make-
looked no, it was trying to stop pissing, but it couldn't. That was the awkwardness between us. It
Right,
couldn't
okay.
stop pissing. It wanted to just run away, but it couldn't. It was like, oh,
No,
okay.
it was slowly waddling up, but you could see it was just getting it all over its fucking 4 ankles. It's like fucking
Well, I
ridiculous.
just sat in the porta-john next to it and read my paper.
More fool the
didn't
lamp for not
mind.
cleasing the fucking door, you know?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Well, nothing has improved at work. But nothing to
Hasn't
report
it?
either.
Are they still using Evian bottles?
Oh, they put up. What they have done, right, is because they've obviously got complaints about these guys just not only pissing all over the seat, but pissing all around the toilet as well. And I guess just really roughing up their fucking pubic hair, because you just find pubes all over the toilet seat. And what HR have done to combat the
nasty.
problem
That's
is they've gone into Microsoft Word and they typed up. Well, they know that they typed up a little rhyme, printed it out, and they've just kind of pasted these kind of half-assed posters.
A
all over
little
the wall.
rhyme about pubic hair.
No, it'd be the same fight. I'm trying to remember it now. It's this awful rhyme. So it says, it's like, guys, if you make a mess, try and reduce the cleaner's stress.
Don't
And-
cut your pubic hair in
It's
the
like-
work bathroom.
If you make a mess, please reduce the cleaner's stress, grab some paper and then a bit more, and try and leave a nice dry floor. And that's how they've chosen to remedy the problem of excessive fucking bodily waste sprayed all over the walls of the men's staff bathroom.
I mean, even if it was a bit of that on the floor, that's not good enough. Get some fucking 401 and spray the fucking floor and wipe that into the floor. I mean, God's sake. You don't clean stuff by just dabbing it off the floor.
No, not of course. You need a lot of fucking bleach. In fact, I would say that fire is the
Fire.
only thing that could
Fire,
fucking
yeah.
remedy that.
Baby Alf Boisterous.
Well, now it's time for the quiz. Yeah, the quiz. Did we say we were going to do Aladdin next, or did you want to do the core first?
Well, how many more episodes do you reckon we're going to do?
Not as if we need to get it out in a timely manner. It's not that sort of show.
the one show is
Viewers,
generated
no,
on
thank
itself.
you. Okay, we'll do the core first. Okay, so shit. Well, I better. I
edit
thought we
that
were going to do. I thought we were going to do Aladdin. So okay. Well, let's just do some lines that we would imagine would be in the core. Okay, so what film is this line from? I can't believe I'm stuck on this floating septic tank with you lunatics. And that's from Dr. Konrad Zimsky from The Core. No, shit.
Did you blow your load a little bit there?
Got another one here. How about this? How about what line is this movie from? Hey guys, we're closing in on the inner core.
I like
Okay, how
how
about this
this
one?
memorable
Yeah,
quotes from The Core.
How about this one? Yes, 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 yes. And what if the core is made of cheese? What movie is that from?
Well, it's from Drummond, no?
We'll do. Yeah, I know, right? What about this one? Restart the core somehow. What movie is that from? How about this? Right, you'll like this one because this drops the name of a famous person. Are you going to be doing that Carl Sagan narration all the way down to the core? What movie is that from?
I hope every one of these makes the cut.
Do you remember earlier I said, hey guys, we're closing in on the core? Same character. That's a clue. He says, into the crawl space. That has core fluid at over 9,000 degrees. That's right. It's over 9,000.
9,000?
Who says that? What film is that from? Whatever game we're playing. Yeah, that's it. That's all I've got.
Oh, man. I'm going to have to watch this now. On my own.
The taglines for this film are pretty interesting.
Hang on, let me
Earth has a deadline.
Yep.
In a year, everyone on Earth is dead. The only way out is in. That's the best one.
Yep.
That's actually a tagline. The last one, say it with me, : I don't know.
This spring, mankind's greatest threat is Earth itself.
Yeah, but it wasn't
like
it was
this.
Earth's fault.
This is the one for the Belgian postcard. The core of the Earth has stopped spinning.
I like it. It's direct.
Yeah, it doesn't bury the lead. You know where you are with that. They're just counting on people not speaking English when they see that poster.
I think we should make a note on the podcast, Damien, that the first episode that we do of, I guess, season 4, it has to be, and we'll have to watch it together when I see you. Okay. It has to be. What's the film going to be, Damien?
It's got to be one of two things. It's either Mooseport or Sinjin, no?
It's neither of those things. Do you want me to give you a quote?
I Frankenstein.
That's right. You fucking got it without me doing any quotes. The quote I was looking for was the character Niberius, and he says, "A crass, contrived effort movie that's not even good to watch in a dentist chair." And that really confused me when I saw that.
And that's a quote from the movie.
That's a quote from Niberius in the movie, yeah.
Okay, no. Well,
Another quote from the movie is Adam Frankenstein saying, "Remember, I have no soul." To which Gideon replies, "God will surely damn you." To which Adam Frankenstein replies, "He already did."
Oh! Oh, well, I mean, if we're going to go down that road, we could possibly toy around with fucking Video Game High School as well. We could do like an episode by episode breakdown. We could do like talking Video Game High School, you know, pretend like
I might as well just delete the old YouTube channel and we'll just start this one. It's clearly going to be it. Oh, yeah. God. Well, I was just going to bring it back to Short Circuit 2 to say that they really squandered this robot.
How so? I mean, its face is quite articulated, but I think it's obviously quite limited in what it can, limited.
Well, it is, exactly. It's very limited in what it could do, and that's why they shouldn't have made it like Inspector Gadget, but it's a robot, where he like falls out of windows, and he's clearly going to hit the floor with his head. He's about 2 inches off the floor, and then it cuts, and he's fine. He's going to land on his tracks. I know he's got a glider as well, but we don't see it deploy. Like, this whole film, it never has any money shot where you see something happening. It's always like Johnny Five's about to do something, and then he has done it.
Yeah, I understand that, but again, this is kind of like a pre-CGI kind of time, really.
You'd have thought, we have a sort of limited robot. Maybe it should be more about, like, a robot coming to grips with it being a robot, or, you know, becoming human.
I think they should just make something like this today. You know, they get Boston Dynamics on the fucking case, and they just make Goatbot, you know, the thing that will not fall down, and it's just 90 minutes of just him being impossible
just
to
being
fucking
pushed about.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
No, well, no.
Fisher Stevens stands there with his hands on his hips, going, "Come on, load that faster, Johnny Five! You miserable Johnny Five!
You miserable Johnny Five!
You miserable Johnny Five!"
Pleased to be listening to the words that I am saying to you. Johnny Five, you must not go outside.
Yeah, that's Fisher Stevens' incredible nuanced performance there.
Yeah, I think we both had pretty flawless fucking impressions there.
Yeah.
I mean, we pretty much secured our place in the remake. You know, we'll like tag team the scenes or something like that, and we'll just, you know, we'll swap it out. I think we're up there. You know,
I really think this is utter shit.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Kind of, yeah. Unweaving my childhood, but there you go.
Was Short Circuit a part of your childhood?
No, not at all. I'm just being melodramatic for the sake of it. I could not give two shits. I went into it kind of excited. I thought I might enjoy this more than some of the shit that we have watched in the past. But as I said, like, the first half was kind of fun, and then that wore off, and then I stopped watching, and then a week later I watched the second half of it.
I thought it would be something I could laugh at, you know, and there are sort of bits of that, like the toy manufacturer saying, "Yeah, we'll pay $50 a piece for this piece of fucking shit toy. It's clearly just a remote control car." Yeah, we'll pay $50 for that. That's great. Stuff like that, but they were just so few and far between. I think that's probably true of Mooseport as well, isn't it?
I couldn't tell you fucking anything about that other than it has those two people in it.
And that woman from ER.
There's a woman from ER in it? Oh, there we go. You see?
Yeah, she's the woman in it.
Oh, there was only one.
Yeah, she's not on the DVD cover.
Good. She has no place there.
She wasn't running for mayor, you see, whereas Gene Hackman and Ray Romano were.
Oh, the mayor. It's coming back. It's coming back. It was, yeah. It was.
That's what Donald Trump needs to do after he wins. After he finishes his second term, he needs to become the mayor of
where he must
place.
battle Ray Romano to the death. It's this bizarre kind of like Midwestern town that's kind of been out of touch for too long. You know, Ray Romano's outfitted like a fucking raider from Mad Max at this point. You know, Donald Trump's fucking stepping in for the first time. I guess at this point, after his second term, he's what, like 80? He must be pushing 80 at this point.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, he doesn't stand a hope in hell. Ray Romano has like fucking like nails that are like 5 inches long sticking out of this gauntlet.
Yeah,
you know,
they're long.
Yeah, and he's just gonna go straight for the ribcage, puncture that fucking lung.
The real conflict comes from the committee who are deciding Ray Romano's party's candidate for the mayorship. So even though he's the most popular candidate, the committee is entirely corrupt, and they placed their own man in charge, and that's the real antagonist of this film. And the people who, I guess the DNC, it would be the DNC. Who is their stooge? None other than Alf. That's right. Because he would be a Democrat when you think about it. He's back in Democrat form. Well, you know, I actually think Alf could disrupt all of that just the same way Donald Trump did. It could be like Joe Biden says something, and then Bernie Sanders says something, and then Alf just talks a lot of shit. But because he's talking a lot of shit and because it's Alf, all the cameras go to Alf. And that's how he wins. That's how he becomes the president of the United States.
I thought this was supposed to be a mayorship in a very small town in Midwest America.
Yeah, but he progresses and he progresses. Yeah, and then it's Ray Romano versus Alf.
On the lawn of the White House.
The title of Emperor of the Universe.
They fight on the moon.
Well, they would have to on account of, on the account of, Alf's incredible height disadvantage. It would only be fair.
Yeah, but you see, Alf can breathe in the vacuum of space.
So there you
Ray
go.
Romano can't do that. He's got a few seconds to land a killing blow.
Yeah, but he's still got those claws, right? And Alf has very small legs.
Yeah, but
sort of like Rigel from Farscape.
Yeah, but there's like kind of traditional like dual rules.
Like
They will
Sooty's
stand
legs.
like 10 paces from each other with their backs turned. And in low gravity, I don't think that Ray Romano can really kind of cover the distance and really get those nails in before, he's consumed by, well, as I say, the lack of environment. I don't know.
Oh, okay. So as soon as this duel starts, Ray Romano's oxygen mask just like immediately just ripped off his face.
Oh god, yeah.
Okay,
It's
to
rigged.
make it fair, right.
Alf is corrupt as the
No,
best.
Ray Romano could totally do it. If it's only 10 or 20 paces between them, yeah, he can cover that distance and kill Alf before he runs out of oxygen. I mean, I'm guessing when he's landed the killing blow, that's when he gets his oxygen mask on.
Or no, maybe it's not that. Ray Romano doesn't know, but his like personal trainer throughout his campaign, right, has been doing some dodgy dealings, right. What he's been doing is he's been stalking Alf, right, and he's been trying to obtain like biomass so he can get a sample of his DNA, and what he's trying to do is work it into his fucking Ray Romano's protein shakes in the hopes that some of that DNA will grasp. Ray Romano doesn't know this, but by the time that he gets to this final fucking skirmish on the moon, he doesn't realize that he's like 50% fucking Alf at this point. So he reckons he's gonna fucking, there'll be explosive decompression. You can't breathe, all this kind of stuff. He goes for it. He realizes, he missed his opportunity, but he realizes he's not succumbing to any of this stuff. And he thinks, he doesn't understand why. He goes, that gives him his second win. He goes for it. He fucking nails Alf to the fucking moon, right? Dead. And he finally wins that fucking office. But as he's making his inaugural speech, he starts fucking Cronenberging. Like bits of his face start peeling off. Ray Romano's face splits open, and a fucking tiny baby Alf just jumps out. Short Circuit 2.
Short Circuit 2.
No, Mooseport.
We can have Mooseport 2. We can have a whole spin-off thing as well about Alf's cabinet, Because I think Judge Rinder could be the Justice Secretary, Benedict Cumberbatch, hand in hand, he could be the Time Secretary, and all of that. We can have a whole ensemble cast. They can have their own films as well. I mean, we can have a whole Love Boat. Like, Love Boat can be the Avengers, where they all come together. Love Boat is where the president makes his decisions. The president being Alf. Baby Alf.
Baby Alf. Baby Alf Romano, all right.
Baby
Hyphenate
Alf-
the name, you know.
Baby Alf Romano. Yes, because Baby is his first name.
I mean, he married Alf,
His
but
name's
he
Mr.
wants to
Baby
keep,
Alf Romano.
he wants to keep his own name. He's still his own man, even if he is
That's
Baby
right,
Alf.
yeah. It's more of a civil union than a dominance thing, Damien. Go.
Even though there's no discernible physical traits of Ray Romano to be fucking seen anyway.
Right. It's Alf, but with Ray Romano's voice. It's like he's talking and it zooms out and you realise, like, fucking hell, this is Alf. And as you realise, he goes, that's right.
I mean, that's as good as an impression I think we're going to get out of either of us today.
That's right. There you go.
He does have a very peculiar voice.
That's right. Not as much as his brother, Robert. Now, I was thinking as well, speaking of Alf, wouldn't you just love to make a Everybody Loves Raymond episode, and without anybody reacting, change Robert with Sam the Eagle from the Muppets? But no one remarks on it or anything. You can see the person underneath doing the puppeteering. It's like
So it's
three
just like that
people
Jar Jar
doing it.
Binks thing, right?
Yeah.
It's not even a full Muppet. He's just got like the head of Sam the Eagle, just gaffer tape to the top of his head.
Danny DeVito is doing the dishes, and he's got two Johnny Fives on his legs, but without the tracks, just sort of like doing handstands, and they're just talking about input to each other. They cancel each other out, like knees. One knee is no good, is it? When you think about it, you need two.
I
like
didn't
magnets.
think Danny DeVito had knees. Yeah, that famous interview where he talks about his stature. He's like, he was.
I don't got no knees.
I woke up in a field hospital and they were sewing my feet to my knees.
Well, then he has knees if he's saying that.
Oh, shins, bollocks.
They were sewing my feet to the bottom of my thigh bones.
I found they sewed my bollocks to what was left of my fucking shins.
If that happened to me, I'd just say, lose the feet. I'd just have some fake.
Just leave the
legs.
bollocks there. It's fine.
The bollocks are a different matter. But I mean, if my shins were machine gunned, and I woke up and they were sewing my feet to my knees, I'd be like, thanks, but don't worry about that.
Try again.
I'll just have a prosthetic leg, thank you.
Just one. Well, where would you like it, sir?
I
On my
think
chest,
I think I'd rather be in a wheelchair than walking up. What am I saying here? I'd rather be in a wheelchair than be a dwarf. That's a hate crime.
please. I'd rather be on a skateboard, I
I'd
think.
rather be and dog on and skateboard. Why would you rather be on a skateboard?
Keep my. I reckon it'll be good. It's a good workout for the arms. It'll keep what's left of me. In good shape. And it's always a talking point. I think people are so used to wheelchairs now; they're kind of very passé. If they see me on a skateboard, kind of like hobbling along, it's a talking point.
Sort of like if you want something because your arms are so developed, you just go everywhere, and everyone's really like you say, people are used to people without the use of their legs being immobile. But what you're saying is you'd be like a monkey man, like getting everywhere, and people would be alarmed, but you'd use it to inform people. You'd be like, yeah, it was the war or a tractor accident, whatever applies.
Yeah, well, I think when I say skateboard, I think it's like a temporary solution because while I'll be doing that, obviously I'll be out and about, but I'll be on a course of a stem cell treatment, right? So in the hopes that not only do they become more developed, but my arms might grow a couple more feet as well, so I can simply
Right.
just walk.
That would
on
be
them.
an advantage, yes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And then within a year, I mean that's how long it takes, right? I'll essentially be walking around. I mean, walking about. Independently. I'll just have to pretend that I don't have any arms while I'm walking. But
If you didn't have any arms, would you still go walking about?
depends what
Because
neighborhood.
it's sort of like you couldn't open any doors, could you?
I
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not saying would you go fell running, but
Maybe I would get some like guards for my teeth, so I could maybe manipulate a few kind of basic objects with my mouth, but without the risk of fucking up what's left of my teeth.
I'd donate blood all the time.
In the hope that I lose enough to lose consciousness and then slip
And
into
the
an
nightmare will be
eternal
over.
sleep.
Oh, God.
Well, we're being too harsh. It could be quite manageable, not having arms.
No, if you don't have any arms, do you know what that means? It means you'll grow up with character. And that's all that matters, growing up with character.
But we all know it's about the arms, George. Our
It's all
entire
about the
society is founded on arms.
When I was a kid, I could never understand why we have two of everything, but I get it now. So, just letting you know. I bet if that lightning had hit any other Johnny, it would have been a normal Johnny. Johnny 5 is just... He's just unbearable. He's just insufferable.
Yeah,
He deserves those two people he's working with.
because they're assholes.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they're definitely weird.
Well, vote for me in 2020, if it isn't time for your horoscope. Taurus, April 20 to May 20. Taurus, Taurus, Taurus. It's finally begun. Do you feel it too? Do you taste the tin in the wind? Can you smell the copper in the soil and the cesium in the waves? Doom is coming. The end is near. The day spoken of in legend is almost here. A great cleansing will wash over the earth, and also maybe a bit will get on Pluto, but that'll come out. That bloke with the sandwich board was right, and not for the first time. That lemon sweater was a bad choice. He was right to mock you, openly. Cats will wear pants, but not human pants with 2 legs, cat ones with 4 legs, and shirts. Cat shirts with no armholes, because they don't need armholes. But bizarrely, there won't be a hole in the shirt for their tails. They'll just sort of tuck it down either side of the tail. That's if they're feeling like fancy cats. Otherwise, they'll just go shirts out, and that will look even weirder for some reason. Like one of those medieval horse jackets, but on a cat. They'll also get along perfectly well with dogs, and that's decidedly out of character, and a bit fucked up if you ask me. In short, the world's set to be a right mess for the next few weeks, so just keep your head down. I can't warn you about all the dangers you may face in the coming months, as there are far, far too many, and I too have a life and skipped clarinet practice to write you this, so don't be selfish. I have, however, taken the time to list some key things you should avoid and/or take advantage of over the coming 8 to 10 days. Number 1. Timothy Oliphant is not to be trusted. There is the Timothy Oliphant we all know, love, and sometimes think would make a good substitute for Bill Paxton, since Bill wandered into that cave in Kamchatka and never came out again. But there is also the other Oliphant, the dark Oliphant, the Doppelfont, if you will. Seldom spoken of or seen in the flesh, like Puck or Loki, he is a being of pure malevolent chaos. He can't hurt you physically, so breathe easy for now. Just don't ask his advice, because he will just fuck with you. For there are 2 Timothy Oliphants. One always tells the truth, and the other always lies. Number 2. Try to steer clear of Delaware. It's a fine state and a lovely bit of country, but it's also roughly the area Hillary Clinton will instinctively be drawn to before she begins digging down, descending deeper and deeper through the Earth's mantle as she chews her way slowly towards the planet's molten core. She's been a fine public servant and a dutiful stateswoman, but it's time for her to return home. If you live in Delaware, move. Number 3. If you see Kevin Spacey, just fucking run. They've had him contained for the past few years, but he's escaped, and with his foibles now public knowledge and nothing left to lose, he's become a right menace. Dashing about covered in thick sweat and something else, we're not quite sure what, but we've got some guesses, and none of them are good. He's taken to chasing innocent people down, cornering them, then flicking them right in the tip of the dick. Hard. It's not life-threatening, but it bloody well smarts, take it from me. Number 4. buy that 65-inch 8K television you've been privately coveting. The money's no good to you when you're dead, which, given your chances over the next little while, may not be far off, but mainly because you're really going to appreciate the image clarity and resolution when England unveil their 500-foot robotic Margaret Thatcher. Seeing the footage of it physically tearing the island of Britain from the Earth's crust and hurling it into space so that it may be free from Europe for eternity, well, that's worth the asking price on its own. Not to mention the future-proofing potential of an 8K screen that size. Who would have thought such a massive behemoth could run sustainably on nothing but school milk? Your lucky day this week is St. Swithin's. Your safe space is the space between spaces. And your lucky time was 4:30 yesterday. Didn't you get my text? And so it's time again for us to say goodbye and good fucking goddamn it. Ah, Kevin, that fucking hurts.
Yeah.
All right. I can't.
Do you have any-
No, I never had anything to say. You know that.
No, neither did I. Just fucking hell, Jesus. Yeah, I remember we were more interested in making pyramids out of beer cans than watching this movie. No, we just had to play Johnny Five games where every time he said something utterly ridiculous, we would drink or whatever. I mean, I seem to remember we played that with Frasier, didn't we?
No, I think I just think that we binge drink when we watch Frasier.
We just binge drink. Yes. It's the only way to get through it.
Frasier's
sort of
bearable. I know it's supposed to be a fucking sitcom, but that behaviour just, I don't know. I would.
It's not just that he
as-
crosses the line so often; it's that he always does it in such a passé way.
Yeah, it kind of advocates the need to bring back capital punishment. I think. You know,
To
not even
deter
just
the Frasier.
not even just capital punishment, but almost public execution. Like, people need to see this be removed from their society.
Well, I didn't get that from Frasier. I got more that the writers were saying, "Trust no one."
Particularly this large man.
You are alone. Right? Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. If you think about it, he's always sort of, meaning well, but that doesn't matter. Okay, so next time we're doing another film. Hints to what it is in the quiz. So see you then. Thanks.
Thanks very
Thanks
much.
very much for watching.
Bye.
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 What is the core?